Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome to another exciting episode of the Two Half Squads.
I'm Dave.
And I'm Jeff. This is the only podcast dedicated 100% to the greatest game in the world, Advanced Squad Leader. Yes.
Episode 292.
Yes. We think it's the only podcast. As the way their podcasts are proliferating, there may be hundreds of ASL podcasts, and we just aren't aware of them. But this is the first.
That's true, for sure.
And the best. We're coming up on our 13-year anniversary in about 3 weeks.
Oh, yes, we are.
Yeah.
Here's to us.
Yes. Cheers. I've got a nice glass of water.
Clink and drink.
Yeah, clink and drink. That's right. What are you drinking there, Dave?
Coffee. I fell asleep in the chair before we started tonight, so I thought better have coffee.
Did you wake up with your mouth open and your tongue's all dry?
When I'm driving in the car, I can't. I'm not driving when Laura's driving.
Oh, yes, that's better.
Always the mouth.
Do they make something for that? I do that on airplanes, but do they make something I'd call it a Bob Marley?
Yes, Bob Marley.
Do they make something like that so you can tie your mouth shut?
Not that I know of. Yeah,
No.
It would have to blend in with the beards.
Yeah.
No one could tell.
Yeah. So you've got a background there. You want to tell us where you're at and what's up?
I do. Grandpa Al passed away last week early. So I think I raced back home to get Mom's house meet the realtor at Mom's house, and then raced back to Ohio, picked up Laura's brother at the airport in Detroit, and then came down to Toledo. Had been occupied doing the whole funeral and visitation thing. And this picture's from the visitation. Al was with it's Al Mortimer, born June 29, 1934. And he was in the military in the occupation forces in Japan.
Interesting.
And I don't know what unit. He was with tank reclamation, fixing them, repair, kind of stuff. And when he was getting ready to go over to Korea, the war was ending. Sapporo, Japan. He was a corporal eventually, and I don't know what unit, but I saw all his pictures a decade ago of the guys hanging around, the camp. And there's one or two in this montage here in this photo in my background.
Yeah.
And I remember him talking about a Japanese lady that he liked, and then people said her dad was in the Japanese mafia and stay away,
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, and they stayed in the barracks that used to be occupied by Japanese troops. And again, then when they were getting ready to go over to Korea, the Korean War armistice was signed.
Must have been a relief.
Yeah, and then he ended up, discharging normally and coming back home.
Yeah.
So
that's a great picture of him there in the center of that montage. Looked like a handsome fellow. Did he talk much about that time, or did you get much?
Yeah, it was non-combat. He was never hesitant to talk about it. And so it was good. We shared it. I don't know where that photo album is. I asked just last fall, knowing that his health was failing.
Yeah.
I said, Al, where's that? You got that photo album with the pictures in Japan with the Japanese girl and the goat and the barracks, and he was like, oh yeah, I don't think that's here. I don't know where that is, but I think it's here. I haven't asked Mom. I'll wait till everyone adjusts.
Right.
For a while. So
yeah, that'll take some time. So this is Laura, your wife's mother's second husband.
Correct. Thank you. Yeah.
Your stepfather.
Yeah.
In-law. Yeah. In-law.
Yeah. And great guy. He had met Mary in '93, or they got married just before Laura and I did. So I remember we went out to Pennsylvania to see the family out there, and we were both being introduced to extended family out in Pennsylvania
Yeah.
at the same time. And he was witty and funny. They do this etching on the walls. They actually etched this kind of image. This is a bookmark, I think, from but it's actually this very colorful American flag and a picture of him when he
Yeah.
passed and a picture of him in the service, right? And they etched this on the ball that came free with the burial costs.
Oh,
So,
that's amazing.
but then you bury it in the ground, the whole image. So it's like,
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
But it's amazing the stuff there.
Yeah.
So he was a funny guy, welcoming to the whole family, and he'll be missed.
Well, I bet he looked, I'm sorry for my condolences.
Yes.
And I bet he looked very smart in that uniform.
So I
and-
should be back home in a couple days.
Oh, good. The town misses you. And when you get back, I got to get over there and we'll play some ASL on your table,
Will do.
your new gaming table. So yes, shall we proceed into the show?
Sure, unless you have anything you'd like to share.
No, just real quickly, we finished our game of Space Empires that I was playing. So I've been playing this game, Space Empires, with Mike Lemke and Mike Rizzi and Rich Spilkey. So they're obviously 4-player game. And Mike Lemke was destroyed after a few turns. And so when it becomes a 3-player game, there's always that ganging up on people possibility. And Rich was doing a lot to try to take over Mike's abandoned territory after he blew up his home world. And Mike Rizzi was trying to expand into it too. So Rich and Mike Rizzi got into it, and they were expending a lot of resources against each other. And I was just kind of sitting off kind of as a third wheel or the fourth wheel on this wagon of 3 wheels. Anyway.
It's a tricycle.
Yes. But while they were duking it out, I just sort of built up some forces and I got to this point last time we met. And I thought, well, I can just scoot in here and destroy Rich's world and possibly win the game. And anyway, I'm getting to this because I have such duress over this decision making. Do I want to end the game now? Is Rich going to be mad at me because I go in and he's been working so hard to take over from Mike Rizzi? Is Mike Rizzi going to get mad at me for not just going around and supporting him and keeping the game going? Am I being a good guy or am I being a bad guy? Do I like competition or not? I'm a wreck, Dave.
You sounds like it.
I am not an easy guy to be gaming with because I just fall and my mind just goes all in a tizzy. I'm just wondering if there's anybody else that has this. I guess I'm not a particularly competitive person. I enjoy the game for the mechanics and for the strategy and for the history that goes along with it, but I'm not aching to win necessarily. I always feel kind of bad when I'm doing well. So, and I've mentioned this before, and nobody has stepped up and said, Jeff, you're normal. So I'm thinking that I'm not.
Well, no, I used to think that somewhat, but not to the extent that I would. Yeah, I think at this point you just finish the game off and
yeah. I just kind of did. I mean, I took very little beating throughout the game. It's these 2 guys were beating up each other and I just sort of walked in the back door and pulled the plug.
Oh, good. Excellent.
So, yeah. Anyway, we all learned something and it was fun to play.
So we have something in the box with 2 things actually, but
what's in the box? That's the brief version.
What's in the box is from John Bola or Bolog. I forgot how we pronounce his name. Retro. Is it Advanced Squad Leader? Not exactly. What is Retro?
What is it? So Retro, I did just a little bit of reading on. You sent me a couple pages from it the other day, and I thought, I don't even know what this is. What am I looking at here?
That's why I sent you the cover.
You sent me the cover, yeah, the cover and
it has an explanation in
yeah.
half a sentence.
So I went and looked it up, and it is Advanced Squad Leader rewritten with simpler rules, much simpler rules, much simpler rules. But it's not the starter kit either. It's like a full game. And it seems to me that one of the attractions of it, it seems to be very acceptable as a solitaire game, solitaire version. So this set of rules, I can't remember, I'll get the guy's name who wrote these rules.
It's by Minden Games.
So it's for people that would like an easier version of ASL. They mentioned the ASL
Yes.
a little bit, but they talked to it more generally as a good tactical war game that you can, now it doesn't come with any boards or counters or anything, so you have to have that. Gary Grabber?
Yep, or
Yeah.
Graber.
Yeah, or Graber. Okay. So you have to have ASL or something like that. I guess you could use the other systems as well, but mostly what people do is I think they're using ASL counters and maps.
Yeah, because the morale's kind of tied in with that. So
yeah,
it struck me as it would be really good for doing a miniatures kind of version of ASL for a guys' night where not everyone coming over may not play Advanced Squad Leader, and so I've done that before in miniature. This seemed like a system like, oh, that would be really good for that kind of game.
Yeah.
You guys don't really know the system. Yeah, but Retro has a sequence of play. So I jump in here on the beginning.
Yeah. Show me what's on the, they do an explanation of what the game is.
Well, no, just the tactical variant rules for
Okay.
World War II war games. But the sequence of play is,
oh, it gets right into it. Okay.
there's no defensive firing, first firing stuff. So it goes rally phase, movement for one side. And I think let's see, in the rally phase, at the start of your rally phase, you attempt to repair support weapon. And then after repair attempts, the side whose phase it is may attempt to rally units. So you don't both even rally. So it's like I rally, I move, I fire, and then you fire. And then close combat, which is an advance and a close combat phase altogether. And then you flip it. So I think the original Squad Leader, I don't know if it had the, move, first fire. I think it did. So yeah, subsequent fire with residual. That was the newest thing. So this gets rid of that, which is a little more complicated, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then rallying broken units, just roll their morale level or less. And the leaders do modify it. But basically, it's that simple. Keep it simple, stupid, right? What's the number on your counter? Roll that number, which is normal, but there's no plus for cover and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
And then in the movement phase, there's this thing called hesitation, which is you roll to see if you will move in an open ground hex toward an enemy.
So just for open ground, there's this hesitation rule that you roll for each time you move through an open hex, open ground.
Yeah, just the first open hex that's within normal range of a non-broken enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And a 5 or less you pass, and 6 or more you halt. And that's on it's just got to be a die roll. Yeah, one die.
Okay.
And there's some modifiers, but they're just a list of 4 or 5, maybe 6, based off morale, and if you're green and if you have a leader. But that's different. So it's kind of like pinning, but it ends the move, hesitation, which makes a lot of sense, Wouldn't that be this Advanced Squad Leader when you're running all these guys against through the open ground toward the house?
Yeah.
Are they all going to charge across that football field length in the open?
If nobody's shooting at them.
Well, this is if you have someone there, normal range, you take this check.
Okay.
You don't like the idea?
I had a hard time. I haven't seen it explained well. So you have just now explained it to me. I was trying to kind of figure it out last night, just from doing a little reading on Board Game Geek, some of the reviews. and stuff like that, just to familiarize myself with it. And they speak highly of it, of this hesitation thing on Board Game Geek, and say it's very clever and brilliant, but I don't know. I don't see it.
Well, in
Coming from,
ASL, if you have to fail your morale check to break
yeah,
or pin. So
yeah,
it's a similar, but
yeah, yeah. Anyway,
um, firing, then there's no prep. So units that have not moved this turn, then fire. It's pretty much normal firepower. So it's like everyone has been asked to do the opportunity fire after the movement, and then everyone
yeah,
fires. There's no halving firepower. There's no spraying fire, area fire, advancing fire. Just all
right.
out. Yeah, this is just a simplified system. So, and there's a different thing. If you get a KIA, everyone's eliminated. And then on the chart, there's a K, there's just KIA. There's no K slashes.
Okay.
And there's numbers 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And that, if you roll that number 8, then that means guys with morale of 8 or less, then break automatically.
Yeah.
Everyone in the hex.
All the
8.
eights. All the eights.
Yeah, it just says this is enough firepower to break this level of troop. No half squads.
Okay.
I know it's a lot. Some of this
So
should be
it's not 8 and under. It's
yeah,
just the eights.
and under.
And under.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
So
more sense.
you can roll a 6 or under. It won't affect your first line troops.
Yeah. Okay.
Then there's this advance. Oh, and the defensive fire, your fire is really limited to the nearest enemy, and you must shoot.
You must shoot.
And you must shoot at the nearest enemy.
Okay.
Yeah, in the final fire phase. So, close combat advance, then you can advance if the next entered hex is not open ground. That would be in the normal range of an unbroken enemy. So they won't let you take an open ground move in normal range of enemy, or it's enemy occupied. Then you advance in. So you can advance into woods, you can advance into cover, or into a hex with the enemy, and
Okay.
immediately go into close combat, which seems pretty much the same. I mean, it's different, but it's similar, simpler again.
Yeah.
So, and then there's a morale section, which kind of there's a cowering element and a self-rally thing, and a Japanese step reduction is covered. But then there's for movement, portaging, everyone can just I think it says just carry a support weapon. Your squad, carry a support weapon. Don't worry about the 3 portage points, 4 portage points, and don't carry 2, just carry 1, make it easy. And then machine guns seem pretty much the same. They had a whole list of special rules for flamethrowers and demolition charges. Again, simplified. They took out the throwing the what do you always have to look up? It's not placing the DC,
Right.
right? It's throwing the DC. Oh,
Right.
who gets the +4? Who gets the +2? So it's just don't do it. Just take it out. Shreks and bazookas with their own little chart. I'll simplify it a bit.
Okay.
Now, smoke is interesting. If I'm reading this right, smoke, the squad can not, if they moved, well, here's an example. An American squad attempted to move in an open ground hex, but rolled halt, hesitation, and it kept them from moving. So this squad cannot try to lay smoke because they moved or tried to move. And then when you place the smoke, it's your hex or adjacent. Smoke counters stay on the board for 3 turns and then are removed.
Okay.
So that's kind of like all the smoke is a OBA smoke or a mortar smoke, not a little hand grenade placed.
Right. Yeah.
And I always kind of thought the hand grenade placement, I wondered if that was too short of a time span, but I have no research or experience with smoke.
Yeah.
Sewer movement rule, real simple. 1 to 4, it's successful. 5 or 6, it's lost. You just come up. You don't have to do all this, and then you just emerge. You don't have to worry about all these other factors. So, concealment in this system.
Oh.
You can only place it when you're required to by the scenario. They don't affect stacking limits. Counters in the same hex with concealment may be inspected at any time. I didn't understand that. Units that fire into the hex with concealment are half firepower. And then the conceal counter is removed when any unit in the hex moves, halts due to hesitation, fires or is fired upon where they get a result of anything but no effect. So real straight up,
Yeah.
right? You moved, you lose it. None of
Yeah.
this assault move in the open, in the cover, or was it a and then their experience level rating system is really different. They take that ELR number and they do it where whenever you get a asterisk check on the chart,
Okay, which is the a low number.
yeah, IFT table, one of the lowest results you get. You take a check for ELR. The check must be taken even if no other effect occurs to the target hex. Example, a die rolled 7 on the 8 column is a 6 asterisk result. So that would not break the 7 morale guy. But he does take the ELR check. How do you do it? You roll 2 dice, and if the roll is higher than the side's ELR rating, it must replace 1 squad in the hex, random determination, with the next lower unit. So
okay.
it's ELR is now incorporated into the IFT table. You're not watching every morale check to see if it's over by that certain number. You're not stopping to do the math. You're just, there's the asterisk. Oh, why don't you roll an ELR check? If you roll that number or less on 2 dice, someone in there is reduced.
Yeah.
Section on heroes, commissars, berserk. I didn't make any notations on it, and that gets you right up to the vehicles. Did you look at the vehicular rules?
Well, I looked at the armored combat pages that you sent me. So, and they are pretty simple. I guess there's a armored combat table. Is that right?
Yeah. Here's a color version for our YouTube people.
Yeah. Okay. So very simple combat table there. And then
that was the close combat. Sorry.
So it's very simple. You calculate the range and then look on the combat table and see what column you're in. And then you can apply some column shifts, which is similar to ASL. So like if the target is, very simple combat table there. If the target is large, then it shifts 1 to the left. So it's easier to hit. Or if the target is attacked from a side or rear, that also shifts to the left. And if the target is small, it shifts to the right. And if the target is infantry, it shifts 2 to the right. So easier to hit. And if the target is, if there's TEM is negative, and then there's a couple of things like that, or wooden buildings, there's column shifts. So they really don't have anything as far as nearly as complicated as like case A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, and R are pretty much non-existent in this. So then you subtract the armor factor from the gun that's firing and roll and see if you can get a 2-kill number on it. So simple. And which is kind of nice, I guess. Then there's also rate of fire, and if there's a rate of fire on it, it attacks again. It says a natural 12 die roll on any gun results in no effect, plus the gun is out of ammunition for the rest of the scenario. American guns, however, never run out of ammunition.
Oh, okay.
So then on armor attacks where the 2-kill number is listed as a blank, just a double hyphen, a natural 2 die roll is considered a track hit, so that vehicle then becomes immobilized for the rest of the scenario. It can still fire, but it's immobilized. And then I was surprised that they had overrun rules. So there are vehicle overrun rules, and how you work with infantry that's in that hex. and it goes both ways. So the infantry can attack the vehicle and the vehicle can attack the infantry. And then there is a close combat. Now, did you say there was a close combat phase? Because again, I'm missing most of the rules. I just had these couple pages.
Yeah. I thought I'd do infantry and you could just
Yeah.
kind of do vehicles. Yeah, the advance is the same phase as close combat. So
Okay.
you do
Oh,
the one
same.
move in and then you roll the combat, which was that chart that I accidentally showed.
Close combat chart. Yes. Okay.
Looks very similar.
Yeah.
But you go straight at it. There's no half squatting someone. If you get the number, boom, people are gone. So
Gone. Okay.
I don't know, is the vehicle similar then?
Yes, vehicle is gone, and then there leaves a wreck. If a vehicle is destroyed, you flip it over, and it does give you the plus TEM on it for other, excuse me, to non-vehicle units in the hex. So they've covered a few of those interesting points without getting rid of them completely. There's no movement or stacking penalties for infantry or vehicles entering wreck hexes. Okay.
Keep it simple.
Let's see, then there's an ordinance, couple of ordinance rules here. Guns are automatically manned by a crew counter, and if the crew is KIA, the gun may not be fired. There's no recovery of that. There are covered arcs, of course, for the guns and the tanks. So you have to pay attention to hex spines. And they can only fire at stuff within their covered arc. There does, and again, I don't have the tables. It doesn't seem to be like you can't turn and fire. When do you turn? Is that during the movement phase? Do you know?
Oh, yeah, you can, whenever you shoot at a target, I think you can turn like in the prep fire, but you got to add those +3s, +2s.
Okay.
For the type of.
So that shows that in the movement section then.
Yeah, it could.
Yeah.
I know when the gun crew is destroyed, and Dave and I were just kind of doing this captured artillery piece with a non-qualified crew.
Right.
Right away, you're
Yeah.
right in the rule book. And it's kind of, this reminds me of how I used to play a little. Like, let's not do a lot of concealment counters. Let's not
Yes.
take prisoners.
Yes. Right.
Let's not
Not
try
do
to
stuff.
man a gun with a hero.
Right.
Let's
Yes.
go look it up. And
Yeah.
so just, yeah, your crew's dead. Okay. Then no one was going to fire the gun.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah, the movement, the vehicles have hesitation also.
Oh, they do. Okay.
But it's based off of if you see an enemy gun, mostly. Yeah. Or probably other vehicle. I kind of forgot now. I forgot to reread that part today. But it's similar. Facing, covered arc, yeah. Covered arc, let's see, guns may not fire in any direction, but may only fire the direction it's pointing. Turrets may not turn independently. Oh, so they're just keeping like turn the whole vehicle. Oh, yeah, it loses a little bit of magic also, though,
It does.
right?
Yeah.
So
that was a little bit of my impression of the whole thing, but I'm coming from knowing ASL and looking back on this.
right.
So I kept thinking, oh, that's you're losing that nice nuance of all these things that you're leaving out. So to me, it's not as attractive. But I suppose if I was coming into it, that would be a completely different thing.
And
that
if
was
you
that was kind of what was talked about quite a bit on Board Game Geek. A lot of gamers were there saying, I own ASL. I've bought a lot of the modules and stuff. I've never had the guts to play, or I've never had people to play with. Even people would say, I bought the starter kit rules and I read them, and then I reread them, and then I reread them, and I still don't understand them. So they were very happy to have these retro rule set. So
yeah, you can make use of all the material components.
yeah.
And I know, as much as would I go back to this? No. As I get older and forget more, will I end up playing this way, thinking I'm doing advanced squad leader? Probably. right?
Yeah, Dave, so your very own retro rules. Yeah,
Let's see. Oh yeah, let's just say that.
yeah.
But again, it does, if you're not using your equipment, your game components, your games, yeah, can't beat this. It's I don't want to turn against MMP or Avalon Hill or all our ASL friends, but
Right.
if you're not using your stuff, this is nice. And if you have a miniature set too of squad level based miniatures, and you haven't found a good set of rules to use,
I could see that for miniatures. Or
this
for,
is
for
you.
solitaire play. A lot of people mentioned, as I said before, how good it is with solitaire play. They can
Yeah,
get it done. A lot
and
of
I did-
guys talk about beer and pretzels. It's a beer and pretzels game. Does it? Let me ask you, did this come with beer and pretzels?
mine did, yeah. John
It
sent
did.
them.
Yeah, nice.
Beer was confiscated by the post office. So,
Oh, yeah.
but,
So why would somebody get the retro rules instead of starter kit?
I think I'm guessing, I think John had said in his letter that it kind of came out of the squad leader players who didn't move to advanced, but I don't remember.
Okay.
Honestly.
Yeah, I'd have to look at that again as well.
Yeah, I mean, and it does have night rules that are against.
Oh, sweet.
And I know,
Really?
Jeff, you don't like a lot of complicated
Anything.
scenario conditions, so there
yes.
are none.
Yeah, victory conditions.
There are none like that ever.
Well,
Ever.
how do you play this? How do you play? Does it come with scenarios, or how do you?
Yeah, scenarios kind of go in a generic format. So example, like scenario retro A is counterattack. You pick a board, you agree on it. If you can't, you dice it, you pick a side. It's 6 turns. And then you bid for the victory conditions. So kind of like, I'll play the German defenders and I think I can hold 4 buildings by the end of 6 turns. And you could say, well, I'll play the German defenders and hold 3 buildings. And then we'd say, oh, well, I'm taking the bigger challenge, 4 buildings to hold. So I would do that and you would get to attack.
What if you pick a board that doesn't have any buildings?
You have to. It does say you could pick board 2 or a board with so many buildings.
Okay, so it gives suggestions for the boards that you use. I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it does
Yes.
list board 2 of it, somewhere in that paragraph. And then the forces are just listed, and then it gives alternative attackers. So you want to play it with Americans attacking the Germans and say it's somewhere else in the war, then just use this force at the bottom instead
Okay.
of this force given in the scenario.
Yeah.
And so they're basic concepts, which are all in ASL. I mean, it's in every war game. They're in every war. They're in every movie, right?
Yes.
Scenario B, escape. Scenario C, patrols. Scenario D, jungle, advance. Scenario E, armor, advance. F, desert swirl. And I didn't really look at the desert rules, but they're in there. They're simple, Scenario G, last stand. Scenario H, urban assault. I, overwhelm and devastate. J, strike from the sky. They added some simplified paratrooper rules into this 5th edition. And K, wilderness clash. And then some markers. You have to glue these markers down on tag board and cut them out and make your own counters for the halt. And a few other things. Debris.
Okay, so that's for the hesitation rule. Is that it?
And some basic stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah,
Debris, like
okay.
you wouldn't have it unless you had a bounding fire production kind of thing. So that's what retro is all about. You've heard about it.
Ah, interesting. And I'm just looking up here. Retro, you can look it up on Board Game Geek, or you can go to Minden_games. I think that's where it is. Let me see.
Yeah, I'll put some links in. I already did.
We'll put the link. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And then
Cool.
next up is a present from Kansas City ASL March Madness pack. I think it was 13 Commissar pack. I will do a deep dive. Takes about 15, 18 minutes, I think, and that'll be the
Sweet.
show.
While you're doing that, I'm going to go to Bounding Fire Productions.
Oh, yes.
Buy something because I've got money burning a hole in my pocket.
Indeed.
And don't you hate it, Dave, when you've got money burning a hole in your pocket and you don't know what to do? You go to the bookstore and you're like, "Ah, I don't want any books." And you think of
Mhm.
all the things that you could buy. I could buy a nice gift for my wife. No. I'm going to go to boundingfireproductions.com and doggone it, I'm going to buy some ASL stuff.
Yeah.
Even
Do
if
you
you
have
already have all the ASL stuff, buy some more and send it to somebody that you love.
get
It's a great gift.
another copy of Operation Neptune and send that out.
Yeah.
So,
So go to Bounding Fire Productions. Tell them Jeff and Dave sent you because it feels good.
all right, everybody. Commissar back. ASL March Madness March, of course. 2013. Of course, it was the month of March. It's March Madness. Commissars. We all love commissars, don't we? Let's look up rule 825.22. They don't have the DM on the troops they're with, and they can raise the morale, and they also tend to shoot people if they don't rally. So your squads get, is it step reduction? No, it's not. That's Japanese. Is it half squatted automatically? No, I think it's the ALR reduction. I think each time they don't rally. And taking a look from the Kansas City guys, MM25, futile bravery. The scenario, those 8 turns, features a bunch of Germans here, but like 15 squads and the usual stuff, and then some tanks coming on, Panzers 2s and 3s. This is 1941 in Smolensk, Russia. But your commissars appear down here on the Russian side, of course, and they enter with these NKVD troops that follow the rules from the Valor of the Guards. And the cool thing in the special rules are that those troops can then lead human wave attacks. Okay. And the board, something like this for you people watching on YouTube. As I'm sharing, this is from the ASL archive. Our friends over there, and you can see there's lots of rubble placed all over the board, and the canal is an embanked railroad on board 23, and it's got 3 boards, board 8 and board 60 there along the bottom, and there are no hills on board 8. So you can see on this version, it's from Vassal, I guess. With the modifications on it, there's the railroad bridge, and the Germans had come on. They can set up with a bridgehead on within 9 hexes of the board 8 end of the bridge there. That could put them on a little bit on board 23, a bridgehead, and then back on board 60 and on the bridge. And then the Russians set up with 18 squads and the usual stuff around 23 or board 8 or 23 greater than or equal to 10 hexes away from the bridge. So they're just outside of the bridgehead and so on. And then they get 25 conscript squads coming on with those 6 half squad NKVD that can, and 6 T-26S M37 tanks coming on. So it's a great, looks like a great little action. 8 turns seems a little short for me. Your commissars can be rallying up people and I guess leading the human wave attacks, but you also have the NKVD troops, which gives that a unique flavor. It's MM25. Next up, MM26 Gallant Mogilev. This takes place, of course, in Russia, 1941. The troops, you have a bunch of Russians. 23 or something squads, the 2 commissars, 10-0 and a 9-0, some other leaders, assortment of stuff, and a lot of fortifications, 2 roadblocks, 6 trenches, a couple fortified buildings, 8 wire, and 24 factors of mines. And then the Germans come on at the bottom of the board with 20 squads and a infantry gun and a KFZ, I guess, towing it, and a couple DC, but they have a radio with 150 OBA, high explosives and smoke. if you look at the board here, if I show, both of these last ones, M25 and M26, were rated pretty equal on roar, with I think like 4 to 5, 4 wins and for each side, or 5 for one side on feudal bravery, and then this one MM26 looked like it was like 6 Russian and 7 German, or vice versa. And the Germans entered down here at the bottom. The Russians set up north of CC. So you're going to be pushing your way up north along the city, Ward 65 and 64. And then the bridge crosses about, what is that, a little over halfway, 3/4 way up the board. And the Russians cannot fortify near the end of the bridge on that other side. The Germans win if they control the bridge locations. So yeah, they're just coming all the way up and gonna take the bridge. MM27, Odessa Madness. This one sets up on 3 boards, 13, 12, 33, 9 turns, lots of squads. Again, the Russians have, it's like about 20 plus squads, and they're all dug in. They got pillboxes, trench, foxholes, fortified building locations, 6 of them, 12 wire, 24 AP mines, some dummy mines, which are a nice little touch. Don't see those a whole lot. And they have commissar wise, it looks like 2 8-0s. Is that right? Or you can upgrade, I guess, on this one. Yeah. Yeah, you'd have to do that. This is taking place around Odessa and Vakarsani village. The board looks like this. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, see the village is in the center of the board 12, and then the Romanians were initially doing the assault. There's 20 of them, and they have 10 foxholes. They were getting kind of stuck trying to get into this village, and there are anti-tank ditches. All the gullies on board 12 are now anti-tank ditches. The Romanians set up, it has to be hexes 3 or more on both the left board and the right side board, which has a lot of open ground out there on, what is that one, 33. And then the Germans coming to save the day, enter north or south. And they got 170 millimeter. No, they don't. Radio on this one? Yeah. Germans have the radio. Russians also can get 2 tunnels without forfeiting forfeit building locations. Russians make forfeit maximum of 1 to have access to an additional tunnel. All the minefields set up as known minefields. So that looks pretty good. To win, the Germans, Romanians win if they control all locations of the fanatic strong point. So again, this will use some of the rules from Valor of the Guards. It's a good way to get introduced to those slowly if you haven't played a lot of Valor of the Guards. Odessa Madness. M28, Sonderkommando Benesh. Wonder what Benesh means. Guess I could Google it. This is Estonia, and it's an island. Isn't this cool? So there is a commissar helping to hold the island. It has a pillbox, 3 trenches, 6 wire, 8 Russian squads with some reinforcements starting down from the top, the north, couple squads. And then there's some Germans, really only 5 squads. Germans win immediately if they exit greater than or equal to 10 points off the north edge. They do have a 10-2, a 9-1, and 8-0. Flamethrower and 2 DC, so maybe that'll help them. But the Germans are commandos, and the 838's also an assault engineer and sapper. Take a look at the board. None of the terrain exists on either side of the 2 rivers. So you're putting board 7 and 40 together, and you get a cool looking board. It's this big oblong island through the center there. Again, on YouTube, you can see it, I think, if I'm sharing correctly. And the Germans got to exit. It says the north. X road G. Oh. Yep, this board is cut off at G, it looks like. So, also the hexes next to the island are fordable. Maybe you can get sneaking around through those islands on the left side of board 7 because the islands are still there. A short, quick little game. Looks real fun. Play it a couple times. On Roar, it is under commando. Looking like it's 4 German victories to 7 Russian. So tough for the German. Maybe throw them the balance, which make the 838 fanatic. That might help him to get off. Still, that's only 2 points if he gets off. By the way, this pack is developed by Dan Best, Tom Meyer, Rick Reinisch, and Paul Works. Very famous names there. Playtest coordinator Dan Best. Playtesters were Adams, Biss, Fisher, Moreski, Bradshaw, other Best. Works, Austin, Meyer, Hershey, Bowman, and Martin. Layout by Rick Reinisch and proofing by Paul Works, Dan Best, Rick Reinisch, and Tom Meyer. So, Commissar pack. MM29 Sorv Point or Sorvate Point or something like that, taking place in the peninsula on Saaremaa Island, Estonia, 1941. The Germans or the Russians have fallen back into this peninsula, and the Germans are coming on to assault this heavily fortified isthmus. The Russians have like 15 squads or so hunked out there. They got the 8-up-1 Commissar in the setup, and then lots of fortifications down here. Again, 3 pillboxes, 8 trenches, foxholes, wire. The board is cool. Again, it's got the whole water thing showing. Doesn't have many playings on Roar. You can see here board 7 and 61. All the hexes on the left side of the river are water. And it's no current, it's deep. There are fordable hexes again adjacent to the land there. And the Germans come in there with 15 squads and just machine guns, a couple DCs to try and take the hill hexes. Officially, they can control greater than or equal to 9 level 2 hill hexes south of Q, and the Russians set up south of Q. Oh, and that's a marsh over there guarding the flank of those mountains. So the Russians get 120 OBA, and that should be quite helpful. Germans get a module of 105 OBA from an off-board observer also. So I don't have all that going on in this one. And MM30, Frozen Zvad, Russia, 1942, is it? Yes. Russians got the 8+1 Commissar again there, and options. They have, what's 16 plus 24? Y'all know my math is so good. Look at this. Just look at this thing. Okay, 9 turns, these 3 boards, 8, 3, 7. Germans are setting up on this. Well, it looks like an isthmus again, but it's not. You share the screen if you're at home and listening. Board 8 has like the river and 7, and so the middle is board 3. Is that? And the Germans set up anywhere in this center area. This is ice rules. This is no wind. This is snow. This is deep snow. This is extreme winter. And night rules. So I know it's only got like 2 playings on Roar, and they went to the German. So I think that's a lot of Russians to be stopping coming in there. But the Russians need to control greater than or equal to 30 buildings within the German setup area at game end, and it is nighttime. Germans are defender. Both sides have winter camo, and again, it's ice, so the Russians can come in all 4 sides of this thing if they want. MM31, Sevastopol by sea, June 42. The Russians have 14 squads and then 8 half squads lined out there, an 8+1 commissar, machine guns, mortars, trenches, and foxholes. They're trying to hold this hill, and the Germans are coming in by boat, assault boat, 20 of them for their 19 squads plus. And it is a night game, so it only has a few planes again, and the Russians won twice on Roar. Historically, the Germans got in there easily and drove them off the hill. Base night range is 5, the river's deep, no current. And again, on board 8 and board 58, on board 8, the river. See if I can share screen again. And the hexes north of the river don't exist. So again, you have this kind of coastal thing going. And Russians are the defender. And they got to set up on the Russians on the hill. Germans are stealthy also coming in. So quite a unique setup there. No OBA in this one. Last scenario up, Winter Forest, MM32. I always like that earlier partisans in the forest from the partisan game, and the Germans are attacking. They have to like get out of there or fight. Always love that one. This one looks just as fun, more fun actually. The Germans coming on though. Okay, it's the forest. It's these it's 3 boards, 37, 34, 52. There are almost 30 squads of partisans, and they are all held up here in the forest. They have a bunch of pillboxes and stuff. This is only 1-to-1 rating on Roar, but the map on the ASL Scenario Archive gives you an idea here. The partisans have 10 pillboxes that are all linked by trenches. I think they have to be kind of circled up from the rule here. They have to be accessible. 11 wire counters. A mortar can only be fired by this little 127 crew. Must represent something historically there. The partisan camp. Then the Germans historically attacked north and south, and the partisans didn't seem to know the northern force was so large. The Germans coming in here, okay, well, first of all, it's snow, no wind, ice rules, and deep snow, and extreme winter. Forest rules are in effect. No paths or roads exist. And then the Soviets are partisans. They do have the Commissar with them. The description background said that there was a active partisan detachment led by a specially trained commissar. And the Germans coming in have winter camos, ski equipped. 548s are sappers. They're snappy sappers, let me tell you. And they got 30 dudes. No, I'm sorry, 20. Yeah, they got 30 dudes also coming in basically. And 2 small modules. Looks like the German may pre-register 1 hex and may use barrage for a 75mm module. The other's a Italian mortar. Germans are also ski equipped. So they came on historically too light to make any dent in the mines and the frozen ground, gave them an advantage also, took away an advantage that the partisans might normally have. That's great, 9 turns, and that wraps up Commissar Pack. Get yours today.
Yeah, thanks, Dave, for that deep dive. That was good.
Looks like some good. Gotta love your Commissars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Indeed. And thanks to Dave Moreski over there at Kansas City ASL, and that'll be a show.
Yeah, sweet.
Let everybody go.
Super.
Now.
All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us, and we hope that you had a good time with this show. We got another show coming up in about 2 weeks. They just keep on coming.
All right, we'll talk to everyone later.
Yeah. Thanks for listening, everybody. Remember to roll low
and rally well. but
But
not when you're playing us.
us. No, don't
No,
do
sir.
it.
All right,
Leave it
bye-bye.
alone. Bye, everybody.